Welcome back to the channel. This game features Nigel Short against Adrian Mikhalchishin, a Ukrainian Grandmaster. This was played in the Live tournament round 5 in February 1984. The game started as a Kara Khan defence, to my knowledge was the first time Nigel played the Kara Khan competitively. Knight to g7 as opposed to bishop to f5. And here white opts for the Karpov variation. Trade of a set of knights and another set. Nigel decides to take with the G pawn, which is slightly unusual. More normal is to take with the E pawn. All normal development. Nigel offers the trade of bishops. Grabbing the open G file. And here the queen swings to the queen side, attacking the B pawn. And white accepts the challenge by castling queenside. And black follows suit. Threatening to drive the bishop from the f5 square. Here Nigel offers to trade the queens to try and simplify the position, but white rejects this idea. To stop the impending g4, this was really forced as Nigel was threatening queen a3 check. This move is obviously to try and double the rooks and defend the h pawn as well. Here Nigel steps back with a bishop and does allow h4, which will kick the rook from the g file, or f4 as well. But white decides to push on the queen side to try and gain more space on that wing. And Nigel redirects his rook to the queen side as it's going to get kicked anyway. Here white decides to centralise the bishop, but again maybe bringing the rooks to the centre would have been a better idea. And the played move actually blocks the f pawn advance at some point. Nigel attacks on the queen side. This is a good move for white, either kicking the rook off the a file so the white rooks can then dominate it. The best move here actually would be a3 check, and after rook takes, king takes, a5, attacking the pinned pawn, and rook to c1, lining up when the pawns get exchanged. And this is actually quite an equal position, as the weakness on c6 will be quite bad for black, but it's better than what was played, which was obviously rook takes a4, getting the pawn back. This allows white to dominate the a file. Here Nigel trades the a pawn for the b pawn, but allows c4, which kicks the rook back. And now we recenters into the middle. Here Nigel tries to attack the centre. Maybe c5 was better. As now this move pins the c pawn to the queen and puts a lot of pressure on the c pawn. The only move to defend the c pawn, but loses the e pawn. And now black is scrambling. He's under severe pressure. A nice check, and queen to f4 is coming, and this is quite terminal for black. There's no real way of managing to save the rook. He plays king to d7. Obviously, you can't play king to c8, relying on the queen, relying on the check on e2. Here, black plays king to c1, but cleaner would have been rook to d2. And after all the trades, the white queen will dominate the black rook, and the pawns are going to drop because they're just too weak, and white is totally winning. So straight decision to play king to c1 because it does allow black a bit of a chance, not much, but the game would have been totally winning with rook to d2. So the rook comes off, and now black throws a few checks in. Unfortunately, he can never take the d pawn because once the king moves, the black queen will be pinned to the king by the rook on d1. A few more checks are played. And here black actually runs out of checks. I mean, there's many ways to win. White actually just takes the b pawn, and black resigns as is a whole rook down and nothing more to do. I think queen to d6 would have been cleaner in this position because you can actually grab an extra pawn on f7 and then win the b pawn or centralise the rook. But this is mating or completely winning as well. Disappointing game from Nigel. He didn't really get into it and position he was outplayed. He had a fairly good start. Well, he was 50% up to this point after two draws in the last two rounds, but now he dropped below 50%. So join me again. Please like and subscribe when I should continue on with the Live tournament of 1984. Thanks for watching. Cheers.